Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A CBS affiliate filed this report on Whitewater, Wisconsin, and the challenges that community is facing with the influx of people in this country from other countries.
Migrants first started arriving in early 2022. The traffic has picked up. On December 28th, Whitewater's police chief and city manager wrote a letter to the White House. They're asking the Biden administration for help as this city of about 15,000 handles an estimated 800 to 1,000 migrants.
I'm not going to lie, we did close for 2 weeks at one point just to sort of reassess how we were serving the needs of everybody.
Christine Zabayos, director of the community space, says there was not a huge increase in visitors, but they were seeing a lot of people with no idea how the space works.
Sometimes we felt that we had people who were maybe taking more than they needed just because they didn't know they could come back.
For the city, the strain was more severe. The letter states police are struggling to watch the entire community because they're seeing 3 times the number of unlicensed drivers. Then, the city says it bought, quote, costly translation software so police could communicate with migrants when handling traffic cases up to more serious cases, including sexual assaults and the death of an infant.
We have a broken legal immigration system. We have a broken illegal immigration system. The illegal immigration system has gotten so bad that we have to solve that first.
Congressman Brian Stile is among more than 60 House Republicans trying to make that point by visiting the southern border. As for why so many migrants have ended up in Whitewater,
I think there's a lot of assumptions as to why it's playing out in Whitewater, but obviously once you get a handful of people, they're going to reach out to their friends, their neighbors, their relatives, and that's part of the process.
Yeah, and then friends, neighbors, relatives, extended family can just come here at their leisure. They dictate terms to us. That seems to be the problem that is afflicting a lot of small communities around the country.
And at Whitewater, they're mostly from Nicaragua and Venezuela.
And this was Kamala Harris's response to the challenges that communities like Whitewater and Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora, Colorado, and Charleroi, Pennsylvania, and so many others are faced with. This was a response in that confab she had with black journalists this week.
It's a crying shame. I mean, my heart breaks for this community. You know, there were children, elementary school children, who it was school photo day. You remember what that's like? Going to school on picture day? Who were dressed up in their best, got all ready, knew what they were going to wear the night before, and had to be evacuated. Children.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking, of course, about the fake bomb threats that came from overseas.
Mm-hmm. And she was actually talking to adults. I know that's surprising given the way that she speaks, but she was actually talking to a crowd of adults, remarkably. For more on this and other matters, pleased to be joined by Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be with you.
So, you are obviously well aware of this and have been speaking to these problems. I mean, where does it stand? What do you say to the residents of places like Whitewater, Wisconsin, about the current situation?
Well, first of all, I'll give CBS, that local station, credit. That's a very accurate report.
Yeah.
But again, they're talking about 800 to 1,000 in Whitewater. There's more in the surrounding region, but that's 1,000 migrants. That's the tip of the spear here, okay, or of the iceberg. And it can impact in the community as significantly as it is. You know, that few can impact the community as significantly as it is in Whitewater. So the concern is that we, again, are only seeing the tip of the iceberg of the negative consequences of Harris's. I mean, let's face it, she's mourning, I guess, the impact of a major influx, 20,000 Haitians into Springfield. Okay, a town of about 60,000. That that overwhelms. It ends up being a clash of cultures, okay? But even that's the tip of the iceberg. But she caused the problem. We can never forget that. Democrats wanted an open border. The border was largely closed when they took over. But they wanted an open border. As candidates, they all said they're going to end deportations, offer free health care. That attracted more people. They ended Title 42. They threw the border open. In December, we had more than 10,000 people per day on average. Since Biden took office, 7,000 people per day average entering this country illegally, not with valid asylum claims. They're finding new ways of doing it, so it appears to be a legal process. They're just making a legal process, misusing parole, flying people in, not interviewing people at embassies before they give them visas. I mean, this has been a flood. The 6 to 7, 8 million people CBP reports is not the full count whatsoever. We really are talking, I think, well over 10 million people, and it's going to overwhelm the systems. Again, law enforcement, schools, they have the same translation problems, by the way, as in the schools. The bilingual teachers don't speak the same dialect, so this is massively expensive, and it's not only impacting places like Chicago and New York, but little towns like Whitewater, Wisconsin are also being impacted. But again, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
But who's deciding where they go? Why are they ending up in Springfield, Ohio, or Whitewater, Wisconsin?
We don't know. I mean, I think it's really DHS, and that's Mayorkas and his band of merry men and women that are making these decisions. And then was also accurately reported. You guys might have said that is once you have a population of Nicaraguans, whatever, they've got cell phones. By the way, they all have cell phones.
They give them.
They're coming across the border. They have cell phones, and they start talking to their family, their friends, and they attract them to that same area. I mean, it's happened in Minneapolis with Somalia. You have the Haitians in Springfield. We'll probably have more Nicaraguans in Whitewater and the surrounding area. So that's just natural human tendency to do that. But again, DHS, they don't tell us what's happening. They're not talking about these midnight flights. Again, this is all under the radar, and unfortunately, the legacy corporate media helps them cover it up. They don't report on the midnight flights. They mock the J.D. Vance and Trump when they talk about the clash of cultures in Springfield. Again, I don't know the truth exactly. Cats or dogs or pets or geese or I don't know, but I totally believe J.D. Vance that he's getting calls from his constituents on this and is responding to them. But regardless of the absolute truth of that, it is the clash of cultures, but even worse, the brutal gang members that are part of this migration that are taking over apartments. Again, Central America, if you're a police officer, you're going to get a DVD from the local cartel or gang showing your children and wife going to school or church. That's just the opening threat to make sure that they can commit their crimes with impunity. Is that what America is going to turn into? And of course, they're going to do it in small towns and small regions. That would be the easiest place, the easiest takeover are small little towns.
Well,
intimidate the law enforcement, intimidate the population. That's what we're in for here.
Well,
this open border process.
They're the easiest towns, and they're also often what I keep invoking Chris Arnatti, the photojournalist, what he calls back row Americans. Middle or working level, or working class American families who are irrelevant to DC elites. They don't care. So they don't care what happens in Springfield,
Ohio. Do they have
Ohio.
the big map out where they're like, okay, we'll go here, we'll put them here? Or do they want to just focus on swing states? Because it seems like, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Colorado, Alabama, not exactly. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with, class politics.
Yeah, listen, I don't trust the Democrats to do anything above board or really for the benefit of people. It's all about the benefit for their electoral politics. So I think an awful lot of the illegal immigrants are being shunted into blue states to increase their census count, so they get more members of Congress to really accomplish their goal of a one-party Nate. That's what this is all about. They want total control of our political system, of our government, of our lives.
Well, something else that the political ruling class in D.C. is ridiculing is Americans who are concerned about all these illegal immigrants who have been invited in voting in the November election. And yesterday, a 6-month funding bill for the federal government that included a measure to require proof of citizenship in order to vote lost in the House with 14 Republicans joining the Democrats and voting against it. What does that say about the Republican Party's wherewithal on this issue, even if Trump were to be elected? I mean, are we going to have another situation where even if you had Speaker Johnson with a slim majority and a new Senate Majority Leader, Republican, with a slim majority, you have a lot of Republicans that are squeamish about what Trump and Vance are proposing and, frankly, what is required?
Yeah, what it says is we have two slim majorities. That is correct. And a few Republicans voted against this for a number of reasons. It didn't have a chance in the Senate anyway. So, yeah, I appreciate the effort just so we can talk about the fact that Democrats are opposed to putting in controls to make sure that illegals don't vote in our election.
Mm-hmm.
Non-citizens. I mean, they're happy. Let's face it, Democrats want to make it easy to cheat. That's why they're relaxing all these controls. That's what pushing absentee balloting and mail-in balloting is all about. Is let's make it easy to cheat so we can game the system, so we can gain total control. That's what that's about.
I wanted to get your reaction to this too. Maybe we could dust off Bob Mueller, because he's an expert in collusion investigations. U.S. intel agencies said yesterday a group of Iranian hackers hacked Trump's campaign and attempted to share that information, the information it hacked, with Joe Biden's campaign. I mean, if we can, if they can go after George Papadopoulos, and maybe there's somebody in the Biden campaign that Mueller or a special prosecutor should be investigating, I'd love to put the question to Merrick Garland about the standards when it comes to these sorts of investigations. And here, unlike with Trump, you actually have evidence of an Iranian operation, if you will.
Well, do not hold your breath expecting equal application of justice under Merrick Garland. It's just is not going to happen. Yeah, but again, I'll go back to in the end, the main culprit in all this is a highly biased media, very few journalists left, mainly advocates for the left, who continue to cover up for the Democrats and push their leftist views. I mean, that is the real danger to our democracy. You wouldn't have the corruption of these agencies. You wouldn't have the multiple systems of justice being applied to Democrats versus Republicans versus the rest of us the way that's happening if we had an honest media that held both sides accountable. I'm not looking for special treatment. I just want an honest media that investigates, that's inquisitive, that is really on, doing the work on behalf of the American public as a free press. That's not what we have today in America, and our nation's in peril because of it.
The free press doesn't even believe in a free press anymore. That's how bad it is. But but just on the slim majorities question, we spoke with Scott Walker earlier this week, and mentioned about slim majorities and the majority that you're seeking in the Senate. Majority could be less slim if you could have some surprise victors like Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. And I wonder how you're feeling about Trump in Wisconsin and Hovde.
Well, yeah, I'd love to have Eric Hovde as a colleague. People listening can certainly support him. That'd be helpful. But, by and large, it's a ground game. It's a grassroots effort. So, the Republican Party of Wisconsin, we're doing all the right things. We're encouraging early voting. People are going to vote right away, and then spend that time from when you voted to Election Day to get other people to vote early so that they were ahead on Election Day rather than the 300,000-400,000 votes we're normally behind. So we've got the grassroots effort out there. We're knocking on doors. We're identifying the lower propensity voters that our Get Out the Vote effort will be targeted toward on Election Day. They'll decide the election. So we're doing what needs to be done. But Wisconsin is a classic, purple state. I mean, we are very evenly.
A tight race too, for example.
No, it's just what I said: ground game, ground game, ground game. You need ads. You need to tell a story. People need to think you're genuine. That whether they agree with you or not, that you firmly believe, what it is you're saying. I think I've proven that time and time again over my years of service here. But in the end, in terms of winning elections, it gets down to those mechanics and having, field staff and community captains and just the nitty-gritty, down and dirty, get out the vote effort.
Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin. Senator Johnson, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you're a business owner, manager, HR director, anybody that needs to hire people and staff, and you're in McHenry County, this is for you. How's it going? Do you have the people you need? How's the quality of your applications? How much time do you spend on staffing issues? It's a problem, isn't it? You've tried all the job postings, career sites, and nothing is working. Internet job postings just don't work anymore. Are you finally ready to do something that works? Contact Express Employment Professionals in Crystal Lake. It's working for their clients. Express Employment Professionals in Crystal Lake has people that they are placing. They find out what you need and get you those people. Better employees, less turnaround, just better results.